everyone, welcome to this week 2 of the OPL for this split. My name is Michael Hingersing. We have 2 massive games of League of Legends for you as we decide who goes top of the table. Joining me here at the desk, we have Jish and also T-Gun. How are you both? You well this day? Jish, how you feeling?
Yeah, not too bad. Had a pretty busy week.
Yeah?
But, yeah.
Any big announcements?
No? Not yet.
All right. T-Gun, how you feeling?
Better than the end of last week. Not as good as I'm going to feel after tomorrow, but pretty good right now.
So you've recovered a bit from your loss last week, from TM's loss last week, but you feeling good?
You had to state it, didn't you?
Just to remind you. That,
Yeah.
you
Absolutely.
you lost last week, remember?
I need to give.
Yeah,
I was
wanna
there.
give the
I
audience,
was there actually.
I just want to give the audience at home context for why you're feeling bad. Obviously,
I
otherwise it's a
said I was
question.
feeling
Wait,
better.
did he lose?
Let's move on. Take a look at today's schedule, shall we? I have my producer in the ear telling me to move on. We're going to kick things off with the newly promoted Regicide taking on last split's champions Direwolves, and then Legacy versus AV will be our second game of the day. And we could have a new leader at the top of the table today. AV currently sitting at the top. But let's take a look at that ladder, shall we? As we transition directly to it. Yeah, it's good. I nailed it. Look, if you're going to laugh at me, T-Gun, who's last right now? Who's on 0 points? T-Gun?
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you.
All right. Chiefs as well, Jish, are on 5th equal with Team Regicide and Sin Gaming. Abyss Esports, Direwolves, and Legacy all in equal second. And AV currently out in front after that 2-0 win last week. 3 points. Can they maintain it? So let's get to our first game, shall we? Which is Regicide taking on Direwolves. Now, Regicide have changed a few of their players because Chenny Boy has an exam today. So there's going to be some movement around. We'll get to that later. Direwolves, however, no changes to that roster. Do we think Regicide have a chance today, Jish? It's a tough game for them, sure.
Yeah, like looking at the narrative, you don't want to just be like, yeah, the game's already over. But no, I think that what I was sort of thinking about for Regicide, I think that this is like, they want to try literally sneak points. I think that if they can just grab one game, that would be awesome for them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, getting 3 games just to review, like if they lose games and stuff and they have more tape to learn from, then I think that's really like their realistic goal for this week.
Absolutely. Do you agree, T-Gun?
I don't think they ever go to 3 games here. I think they just have to be happy with the 2 games and just, in all honesty, they said that Chenny Boy might make it after his exam. So going into game 1, their goal is going to be just take as long as possible to fall down and die,
out.
Right?
Well,
that'd be my goal, right? Get back to your actual roster so you can play proper games. We saw flashes of brilliance against Abyss where ZZZ and Human almost 2v5, even game 3. But that relied on Abyss sort of being arrogant in their drafting thing, and I don't see that from Direwolves. I don't think that they're going to sort of overlook them and be like, well, we don't care. We think we're just way better than you, and we're going to roll you.
I mean, like, does it even matter if they give them, like, I'm pretty sure Direwolves win no matter what draft you
Yes,
give them.
but I think they have more of a chance if they get Zach and Galio than they do if they get any random champions.
Well, you mentioned ZZZ, and I want to take a look at their top laner and how he stacks up versus the Direwolves top laner, Chippies. Now, what in particular stands out to you here? For me, it's ZZZ's kill participation is very high.
Yeah, so I think the way that Regicide have been playing is that sort of 5-man death ball sort of jump into a fight together, and that's sort of reflected in the kill participation. He's not like a split pushing top laner. He wants to get into the fight. And it's also in his champion pool, right? Like he isn't afraid to play, obviously, the standard tank, Jarvan, the slightly off meta, maybe a few patches old tank Nautilus, as well as like the carry Riven.
Yeah.
So he sort of plays anything he wants.
I mean, the Nautilus is an homage back to when he also played for Avant way back when, right? So maybe since it was meta then, he thought he could bring it back now.
Let's see. Yeah, presumably that's what he's trying to do. We're all retro today. He's looking good. I like him. I'm a fan. But let's talk then about his opponent then, Chippies, who's up on your screen right now. Now, he can kind of play whatever his team needs, right? Like, and he's a very solid top laner. But classically, Direwolves are thought of as a team that lanes well. But we've seen improvements in their metagame over the last sort of split in a bit. Yeah,
so I think you sort of said that he's a pretty good top laner. I think Chippy's probably has claimed to be the best top laner at the moment. Maybe Tally and Swiper are hot on his heels. But yeah, I think obviously in the matchup, it's Chippy's favorite. But as you said, it doesn't really matter, I think, that if they don't get sweeping leads in their lanes, they've sort of improved their macro from coming back from Brazil, sort of learning more as a team and gelling over more than like one split. So I think they'll win from laning, but I also think that it doesn't matter if they don't. They'll still like pull it off with mid-game and late game.
Yeah, I feel like most people sort of use that to deride them because they were winning through lanes so much. We didn't get to see a lot of their macro play, and when we did, it was sort of iffy. But they would just say, oh, because they're so good at laning, they suck at macro, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But in reality, we just didn't see it very often. So maybe that's what they might try and just sort of improve it and work on to sort of make sure that they are able to solidify themselves as the best team.
Well, let's take a look at these teams right now, getting ready in the Riot Studios here in Sydney. Our first team, Regicide, plugging in, logging on. Let's take a look at their lineup, shall we? Their top laner is ZZZ, we just spoke about. Their jungler is Yele today. Suman is their mid laner. Their AD is Fade, who previously has played for their jungle. And support player is K-pop. And these guys, I mean, they're smiling, but like I said, this is going to be a very difficult game for them today. Yeah. Well, no, I don't. I'm not. I mean, look, they would know that, right? And they would know going into this, it's going to be difficult, Tiga.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said before, you have to look towards ZZZ and Suman to just sort of put the team on their back for any hope of a win. That's why I'm thinking if Direwolves do be arrogant and give up things like Galio and Zach, it can happen. I don't think it will personally. I don't think that we're going to be in game for longer than 40 minutes combined time.
Well, you've played with Suman before, so what are you expecting out of him today?
Probably something comfort. Maybe Ari, maybe LeBlanc. I think he would be best served on an assassin. Don't go to something like Orianna. Maybe Vladimir. It isn't really the assassin niche, but when you go champions like that take a while to scale, you're really opening yourself up to Direwolves just trampling you through lane and the game's over.
All right, well, their opponents today are Last Split's champions, Direwolves. Let's take a look at those guys getting ready right now in the Riot Studios. And these guys, obviously very well known to fans at home. Hashtag IMOPL if you want to get in touch. Their top laner is Chippies, who we just spoke about before. Their jungler is Schernfire. Their mid laner is Fantix, rocking back and forth. He's almost soothing himself. King is their AD carry, and the support player and friend of the desk is Destiny. And these guys looking very calm, and particularly King looking very, very calm.
He's just always asleep before games.
Yeah, I mean, maybe everyone has their own preparation rituals, you know. So, you know,
everyone to catch up on the lost sleep.
What's your preparation ritual, Tegan?
Don't ask me things like that. I can't tell you.
All right, it's very personal. It's very personal.
It's basically, I go into a game, I play Blitzcrank against one of my teammates, and we play who can hook the other. I usually win.
All right.
Surprising.
Yeah, let's take a look at your guys' predictions then. Jish, let me start with you. Who's going to be taking this? And, I mean, why is it going to be Direwolves?
Yeah, so it's going to be 2-0, I think, to Direwolves. Yeah, I mean, I really don't have much of a glass half full answer for Regicide. I think that, you know, they just need to use every week as they can, and they have one of the harder teams early, so I guess I'll get this out of the way and keep going for week 3.
Tigun, then if we are kind of all in agreement that this is going to be a pretty easy win for Direwolves, what is considered a benchmark win then for Regicide today?
If they take one game, that's something to be really,
that's
really
huge.
proud of.
No, that's not something. That's huge if they take
I said to be proud of.
Makes them as good as Chiefs, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I love self-deprecating humor. The biggest thing for me is Direwolves need to work. Regicide need to work on their drafts.
Yeah.
Previously, especially last week, they didn't care about Galio or Zach at all. So Direwolves could readily look to leave those up and not care. So if they can really hone in on their draft, it's something they can take forward to the next games and work with.
We'll be speaking to their coach, Day Day, later on. But let's take a look at what you at home think in terms of predictions. Because of the, oh my goodness, that is very one-sided. That's like 3% to 96% there.
That's the Regicide backroom staff voting for their boys.
There's been a lot of talk on OPL Twitter right now about OPL parents. Maybe they're getting in touch and voting for Regicide. But that seems harsh. I mean, if you've tipped, if you've tipped Regicide, let us know why you think they're going to win. Hashtag IMOPL. And indeed, if you've got any questions for our analyst desk that we're going to be coming to after we watch the first game, please let us know at OPL/ hashtag IMOPL. We'll be answering your questions at the next analyst desk segment. So pay attention and maybe you'll get your tweets read out on broadcast. But with that, it is enough analysis before we get into game 1. So let's throw it over to your casters, Spawn and Fish.
Thanks, guys. Still good to see the T-Guns, doing well after his loss. Just still no big announcements. Not quite sure what's going on. And somehow we haven't got rid of Hingers. Not quite sure why he's still back here. But I'm Matthew Stewart. Joining me is Jake Spawn Tiberi. We're about to get into the first match of today.
Yeah, the biggest confusion I had about that, Desi, is how can it be self-deprecating humor when Jish was taking some cheap shots at the Chiefs? I just don't understand what's happening. Obviously, a free agent coach right now. Definitely not signed to any team.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, Left the Immortals, not quite sure what's going on there, but he's back in Oceania.
Have you noticed how
Potentially
well
fine.
Immortals are doing so far? Picking up another 2-win victory this morning, sitting nice and pretty top of the table over CLG right now. But we have an absolute cracker of a game coming up. This should be a good one. Direwolves taking on Regicide. This might be first versus eighth, but the thing that I'm very excited about is that top lane matchup. ZZZ going up against Chippies, arguably one of the up-and-coming carry top laners versus the best in the business at carrying from the top lane. Watch out for some explosive action up there.
It is going to be explosive, especially with ZZZ picking up Riven last week. We know Chippies has a couple of carry
Brand
champions he
new
likes to bring
skin
out.
for Riven out at the moment. I mean, take that one onto Summoner's Rift. Look fly. It doesn't matter if you win games as long as you look friggin' fantastic, Fish.
And something that was mentioned on the desk, which is every time we cut to the player cams of the Direwolves, Kings looks like he's sleeping. He's actually meditating before his match, so getting ready for his big game today. Seems like the Direwolves still going to take this one as seriously as they possibly can against Regicide.
Yeah, and I got to spend a lot of time at Origin with King, and that's exactly right. He's a very uppity guy, a little bit hyperactive, so he just likes to calm down. I mean, and that makes a lot of sense going into pick ban. You don't want to be fidgeting and making sure that you're on edge. Once he gets into the game, he's one of the twitchiest players I've ever seen. In fact, he and Raze click probably the most around the map. And I think that it's just one of those things that, you know, it looks like he's sleeping, but really, and what he's trying to do, he's trying to center himself, trying to get himself ready for a game, trying to get himself ready to smash Fade and K-pop. Of course, Fade, previously known as Johnson, actually going to be the AD carry role for this game, as it's going to be Lay. Let's just call him Lay, I think, or Yay. Which one do we want to go with?
We can go
anyway,
with
going into the jungle position, as Shenny Boy being a good guy, studying for, actually doing an exam at the moment.
Yep. So he has mentioned that if he can get back for the second or third game in time, he will be back on the Regicide roster as the AD carry of choice. Excited to see how Yele will do in the jungle, as well as Fade moving down to the AD carry position for a single game. I believe that's his third role swap so far this split. But we have all the bans coming through from both teams. Direwolves, typical red side bans of Elise, Galio, and Zac. We have Zaya, Gragas, and Tom Kench taken away by Regicide. Their first pick was Karma. Direwolves pick up Thresh as well as Cassidon.
And these are two picks that internationally are really starting to take off because of the shield changes. Cassidon, almost impossible to force out of the mid lane. I mean, we saw a couple of games in the LPL where Lucian was still able to do well against it at the start of the game, but Cassidon's just a time bomb. And Thresh, one of the best supports at going forward and backwards at the moment. So I think that that adds some dynamic play towards the Direwolves bottom lane, and it's one of Destiny's most comfortable champions.
Well, speaking of Lucian, that's been locked in for Regicide, so we'll have to keep eyes and see if that is heading into the mid lane against Cassidon. Lee Sin's locked in as well. And it almost feels like because Cassidon can't be pushed out anymore, you have to pick these picks like Lucian that kind of cripple your mid lane a little bit just so Cassidon doesn't get ahead.
Yeah, exactly right. You want to delay the 3 item spike as much as possible. Direwolves also go towards some utility in their AD carry role, picking up the Varus. That's what we're used to seeing out of them. If you don't have all that much initiation coming out of your mid laner or crowd control, you need to start it somewhere else. Already, they've got themselves the Varus, they've got themselves the Thresh. If you add something like a Gragas, actually that's been banned already, so maybe something like a Rek'Sai into the jungle position should be completely fine. Although Shern's also shown us Nidalee, which is an okay pick at the moment. I actually am a massive fan of it. I threw some shade at the build, but I think that with an AP top side of the map, it's fine.
Well, we know that Nidalee's heavily picked into Zac internationally to try and counter that. We'll have to see if it does eventually get pulled out by one of the players here today. But I feel like Split 2 and the meta heading into Split 2 is great for King and Destiny because coming into the OPL this year, they were very big carry names, high mechanically skilled players. The entirety of Split 1, they got to play passive, they played utility bottom lanes, and now it's a big mixture of both down at the bottom lane where you can have a lot of kill pressure and also have a lot of utility as well. Seems like King and Destiny have adapted very well in the Direwolves bottom lane.
Yeah, they certainly have. I mean, we got to speak to them a lot at Origin, and I think they're very happy with the meta currently sits. See, Shernfire getting banned out, he's actually having a bit of a chuckle. You have to think that he'll be forced towards something like a Nidalee. I would be surprised at Nunu. I mean, it makes sense. He's a pathing jungler. We talk about his aggression a lot, but how he actually gets around Summoner's Rift is a good thing. And on the other side, Chippy's actually giving a lot of respect to ZZZ.
There is a lot of respect towards ZZZ with double top lane bans. And that's 5 jungle bans coming out from both teams in total. So we will see Shernfire default to his Nidalee pick. Excited to see how that does against Yele on Lee Sin here today. When it's Regicide, they get their next 2 picks now. It's either an AD carry or a mid laner to go with a top lane pick for them.
And the big thing for me is that I think that they're going to... Oh, that actually is a surprise. I think they're going to take an aggressive top lane. Rumble pushes in very hard, but now they really do need some initiation out of the AD carry position. Nearly has to be Ash picked up. At the same time, people normally don't like to play Lee Sin into Nidalee. The reason being is if you get a couple of ganks that don't necessarily go your way on Lee Sin, Nidalee takes away your jungle very quickly, and it is hard to catch up and farm against her. So Yele going to be in a little bit of trouble if he doesn't make the most of his earlier situations.
I'm so curious to see how that's going to work. Ash was the final pick for Regicide, so we'll see Fade pick up that champion. Sealman will be playing Lucian mid here today. And for the side of the Direwolves, Chippies will pick up Camille heading into the top lane against Rumble.
I mean, it's his favorite champion. He's talked about it a lot, the fact that he thinks that nerfs hit pretty hard, but still not hard enough to knock Camille off the throne of the top lane. Would have liked to see maybe a Jarvan to help out the initiation, but of course Camille still has the big sweeping flanks that you can go for with the ultimate. Also means that their 1-3-1 split push becomes something to really be worried about as the game progresses. Both Cassinan and Camille will be able to chase down the Lucian, have serious kill threat on the Rumble. I think that this is a pretty well balanced 1-3-1 comp coming out of Direwolves with some fairly decent siege as well. So Regicide certainly have their work cut out for them with double AD carry. A little bit of team fight pressure, but it's a rough draft to execute.
It almost feels like Regicide really need to pull ahead on the top side of the map because Rumble Lane is constantly going to be pushing in. Not quite sure how that matchup goes against Camille, but with Lucian and Lee Sin, they need to get ahead somewhere on the top side of the map because bottom lane's pure utility with Ash and Karma.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, they're going to be looking to poke out. The big thing is you do have Thresh down there, and Thresh, of course, can start initiations, but that has to be a death sentence into a hook for any real kill threat to be going down, especially pre-level 6. I think that when you have a look at this team composition, you hit it on the head. Regicide, they've gone Lucian counter pick, they've gone the Rumble for the pushing lane. If they do not get Yele access to the jungle, you know, the ability to farm up, get to the mid-game stage with some CS leads on the top side of the map, they're just in some real bad trouble because everyone on the side of the Direwolves is a ticking time bomb. Even Nidalee late game does ridiculous amounts of damage.
Especially curious to see how Yele is going to perform in this game for Regicide as their substitute due to the fact that Chenny Boy is not playing today. And on top of that, Fade rolls swap from mid to jungle, now jungle to AD carry just for one game. Curious to see how he is going to do. For now, though, let's check in with Hingers, who is standing by with one of the coaches.
I actually started working with Regicide.
Oh, hello. We are on. Sorry, we were just chatting. And I'm here with the coach of Regicide, Vicarious. Thank you for joining us. And I want to ask about this double AD comp. What do you see as the win conditions for your team today?
Well, a double AD comp, firstly, Lucian is very great into Cassinan. That's one of the known counter picks at the moment in the meta. And double AD comp is very good at scaling.
Yep.
So we're definitely looking at the mid to late game.
Excellent stuff. All right, we'll see if you guys can stall it out and take the late game then. Thanks very much for speaking to us and best luck in the game.
Thank you.
Hingers, having too much of a chat early on. So, you know, all that interview content just gone on one question. Thanks very much for that, guys. Seems like they're going to try and take this one into late game from Regicide. That doesn't quite feel like where they really want to be with this team comp.
I mean, in a 5v5, I think there are some ways that they can win it, especially off a good pick from Yele. At the same time, certainly don't agree that they necessarily have all the scaling on their side. It depends how far behind they can set the Direwolves during this laning phase. And we've seen in the past teams have tried to do that, and it hasn't really worked all that well.
And I mean, Direwolves do have a very squishy team composition with carries in every single lane, but without any form of major burst coming out from Regicide, Rumble is a damage overcharge champion, so is Lucian, so is Ash. It's going to be difficult for them to burst down any one of these assassins. We do have Sunfire starting on the Raptor camp. Stewman, as well as one other player from Regicide, walked in and stopped all the traps, so it's going to be a slightly less healthy clear for the Nidalee, but still very fast in the jungle.
Is quick, but because they stole away one of the Raptors as well, has to clear the big one without the Q, and you get a lot of execute damage. You could see that Burn certainly didn't want to have to burn that. This is what you have to worry about. What Suman just did, he traded with all of the ranged creeps alive. You can see actually took more of a bad trade than what Fantix did, although now dashing forward, we'll be able to get some hurt out.
It's one of the big things you need to do as a melee matchup into a ranged matchup. Use the minions to your advantage. So you're still taking damage, but at least the minions are fighting for you. Fantix doing a good job so far, but Suman is putting on a lot of pressure.
Oh, Joe actually stayed close enough to the minions to get level 3 there. I wonder if that was a deliberate thing. With players like Joe, generally give the benefit of the doubt. Has been spotted out now on his blue buff. Definitely is behind in tempo. You can see that 3 camps have been taken already by Yele, and the fact that he's gone blue to Grump to Wolves and now started on the red. So Shern has a little bit of catching up to do.
He does, and Yele is full health with another potion left available.
Oh, they're going to fight here.
Shernfire, no health, no potions available. Does tag Yele with a good spear.
I mean, he needs some.
Oh, he gets jumped on. Shernfire's gone over the wall. Yele immediately over the wall as well. Shernfire forced to ward to make sure he doesn't continue chasing, but that was fairly decent from Yele there.
It certainly was, and Shern sticking around. You could see that Yele was looking for him to be recalling in that brush. Shern still has Smite available, so he's going to be fine taking another camp and maybe even continuing his clear, as Italy does have that early heal. But good early performance out of the sub-jungler coming in for Regicide.
And it seems like K-pop was forced to use Flash somewhere in the bottom lane as well during that exchange.
Must have been a death sentence at land, you would have to assume.
So Regicide are still pushing in the bottom lane. Make sure they shove this one in, which is expected from Ash and Karma. Whereas Teleport being used in the mid lane by Fantix nice and early. Shumen's done a good job of pushing him back to base.
I mean, he has, but if Fantix is able to freeze up this wave, as he's looking to do right now, it's going to result in Suman losing a little bit of experience as well as some gold. And you can see that Teleport fixes a lot of things that are wrong with Cassidy's laning phase. Kind of how we used to see it on Echo mid a lot, when Echo would just go refillable pot, get double rings, and come back and just clean out.
He's doing a good job so far in the mid lane. Fantix. Human has picked up Exhaust heading into mid lane, which is common against Cassidy's, but top side of the map, Shernfire is looking for a gank of the ZZZ. Summoners are available, burns his flash very early, gets him back to safety, turns around, gets some damage on towards Shernfire, but that will allow him to stay in the lane a little bit longer. Yeah,
you can see already that the wave was pushing against ZZZ, so the flash burn does hurt him a lot. Chippy's going to complete a recall, actually, and maybe look to teleport back in to hold that wave there. ZZZ can't really overextend right now. Doesn't know where Shern is.
Now it's Chippy that's back in lane with a buy. Longsword as well as an extra Thoron's blade. Means that ZZZ, he's going to be forced back to base, loses a bit of experience here, and Chippy has the wave in a very favorable position.
Exactly right, and this is twice that Regicide members have had to back and actually had lanes frozen against them, and it's going to cost them big when it comes to wave priority. I mean, this is just a little bit unforgivable, honestly, out of Suman and ZZZ, two of the better laners on the Regicide lineup. ZZZ will teleport back into the lane, now having Anto as well as, ooh, taking W's from Cassidy.
Yeah, you cannot do that until Cassidy's level 6. That's just literally a death sentence if you decide to stay in melee range of Cassidy. Suma now, even in health with Fantix, both of them have run out of potion charges. Suma will slowly get back up to health with his lifesteal, but Fantix gonna tick 6 soon. He should hit 6 first as well, thanks to the teleport.
Exactly right, and especially thanks to the frozen lane. I mean, Suman is still shoving in, so has the wave advantage right now. But that's going to be able to clean him up.
Right behind Suman. He's going to try and relentlessly pursue away. There is Rumble coming down as well as Yele, who jumps in, trying to give him a shield. It's a very low Lucian who's stuck on the enemy side of the jungle. Rumble's called down as well, so they delay some time, but they do keep Suman alive.
Yeah, but at this same time, Fantix in the hard counter, as we heard from the coach of Regicide, is now 10 CS up. K-pop in big trouble.
Doesn't have his flash available, already used Exhaust. Destiny gets a good Dark Passage to bring King back in. Heal will come out from Fade to make sure that K-pop stays alive. Engage from Direwall's looking good. They have Shernfire bottom looking for the dive.
Haven't timed this well with the wave, however. Only a small creep wave of ranged minions crashing, so Shern's going to have to wait. Just gets a nice deep ward. Potentially can... Nah, teleports away too far away, so just going to be used to scout out if Yele comes down into this bottom lane.
They do have a ward in the Tri-Rush, so they know that Shernfire is still looking to move towards the bottom side of the map. That has swung the way that this wave is pushing. Now that King and Destiny have control over the bottom lane, position better against Fade and K-pop, make sure that doesn't shove back in towards them.
Especially given the fact that the heal advantage is firmly on the side of the Direwolves and there's no real HP disadvantage. Ooh, you can see that Fantix really looking aggressive now that he has that level 6. You can walk up, get spell rotations out.
Oh, that's a hook onto K-pop. No flash available for him. He's going to try and back out of this one. King will get tethered up. Good heals coming in, and Fade actually trading back quite well on the Ashe here. Regicide get a favorable trade.
Yeah, really interested the fact that Destiny didn't look like he wanted to overcommit to that one. With the fact that they still had a heal and double flashes available, I thought that would be a hard engage. But at the same time, K-pop got the empowered tether out,
Yep.
able to heal himself on both ends because of the proc. So nicely done there. This bottom lane of Johnson and Fade, which you might have think would be a weak point because of the fact that it's been a role swap, is going well.
Oh, that's an aggressive flash over the wall by Schoenfire. Doesn't connect with the spear. Chippy's is still trading against ZZZ, who overheats. And ZZZ might be able to get away from this one without any problems. He does.
Yeah, certainly should be able to. I mean, that was a great equalizer. Camille doesn't necessarily want to stay inside the Fiery Inferno once the red carpet's been laid down. So will instead just back away. And I think that's a bad flash from Schön. I mean, he burns a summoner spell, gets absolutely nothing in response. Not even wave positioning, and ZZZ able to fight his way back into this one.
And his flash is coming up shortly as well, so Direwolves have been unable to capitalize on the fact that the flash from Rumble was down. And he's been doing just fine on the top side of the map. Camille as well as Rumble, even in CS. Hex Drinker picked up by Chippies. Haunting Guy has been picked up by ZZZ. Mid lane, Human's doing a lot better against Fantix now, even though he has hit level 7. But Casson is surviving this lane, which is all you need from him.
He's not even just surviving in the lane. I mean, right now he's up 5 CS plus whatever he can grab underneath this turret. You would expect that it will at least be the cannon, if not everything. So Fantix sitting pretty, has the teleport back available if he wants to get back and grab it. You can see Hex Drinker picked up by Chippies in the top lane. Important when you're going up against a Rumble, but won't really help him out against the rest of the team. So I expect it to just sit on a Hex Drinker and not be upgraded to more too soon.
Fantix is going to use his second teleport to get back into lane as well. Got the components of his Catalyst, but doesn't have enough to buy the actual item itself.
But he has gone with the confidence purchase of being able to pick up blasting on. Yep. So many times we see that people just sit on Catalyst, go towards things like upgraded Corrupting Potion. But Fantix, very confident player, thinks he has a legitimate kill threat now. Yep. You can see that Yele actually being pretty deep invaded here from Schön. He wants to be able to start up Raptors. He has Destiny in support as well as Fantix in the mid lane, so not really all that worried, but tethers him incorrectly and going to be forced away.
Gets a couple of small Raptors, but Yele will be able to clear up the rest. He hasn't been doing too bad in the jungle so far for Regicide, and had a very impressive one-on-one against Schoenfire.
Ooh, Destiny, I hate to see it.
Continue to farm up quite nicely against the Nidalee, who normally creeps slightly ahead of Lee Sin, but they've both been farming at the moment. Just seems like there's a small goal lead for the Direwolves, and that seems to be from the small CS discrepancies in the mid lane, top lane, and bottom lane, but it's very minor.
Yeah, exactly right. It's 11 minutes into this game nearly. Nothing really has been happening. A little bit of action bottom lane and a gank top, but everything else has been relatively calm. Big thing for me is the fact that right now, when you have a look at it, Blade of the Ruined King. Oh!
That's an engage from Regicide as well as a teleport coming down. They lock down King, but he flashes away. K-Pop's now the one that's in trouble. First Blood's picked up by Destiny. Equalizer is inside the wall, not too great. Chippy's kicked out of his own ultimate, but going back in with the hook shot, stuns up Ash, flash over the wall. Destiny gets the hook, predicts the flash, and one by one, Regicide will fall. Great counter engage from the Wolves.
Yeah, I actually think that's an overreach. I didn't think they were going to fire point-blank arrow into that brush because there were numbers there out of Direwolves. Regicide certainly made to pay. Bad execution on that team fight. You can see they're actually bringing Lucian down to try and defend the turret, but it's not really in all that much danger, Fish. And all of a sudden, what was an even game is now a 2,000 gold lead off the back end of just really sloppy play. You can see that they got the key member there in King, but he flashed and healed away, and Fade had to walk through the TP to be able to make it there. Camille just a little bit too strong to deal with at this stage of the game. And the re-engage, as you said, was very nice. Skill shots hitting where they needed to, double plays, as well as Fantix able to beat out the Lucian on the rotation down. What I was going to touch on is the fact that Blade of the Ruined Kings in Oath still very popular. Casting the LPL last night, I don't think there was a single Bork pick it up. Much preferring the Essence Reaver crit builds. But you can see that both Varus as well as the Lucians are sticking with it.
Ash actually moving towards the Essence River build, it seems. So Fade going for more of the cooldown reduction, or I assume it will be. He's picking up the components for his Zeal Line next. Human's been jumped on though. He's already used his dash to try and get away. Pops the ultimate, trying to deter Schoenfire from moving any further forward. Successfully so, but now he's out of mana. And Fantix, full health, full mana.
Exactly right. Fantix in a very good position. Also has the makings of his Rod of Ages. Probably has enough to pick it up, to be honest. I expect that to be Infinity Edge double Zeal item, just because going towards Zeal before Essence Reaver doesn't make sense, whereas going towards it before IE certainly does. Chippy's maybe in a little bit of trouble. Still has Flash available.
Yeah, he's right behind Chippies. Kicks him into the wall. Equalizer cutting off his retreat path, but Chippies will flash away from it. Gets away to safety.
Yeah, that's actually a really nice flash from Chippies. He knows that if he takes any damage from the Equalizer, he's in a position to be dove. So instead of doing that, just flashes back towards the river part of the lane and able to walk away. At the same time, Shern's going to go for the punish and be able to pick up the first dragon of the game. It is an Earth Dragon, so one of the better ones to pick up in what is a pretty good siege competition, as well as 1-3-1. Direwolves certainly don't look like right now they're being pushed all that hard.
Taken down easily. Destiny throws out a wild Death Center's looking to try and find K-pop. Does not connect. Showfire will use that time to head back to base. So will Fantix. So Direwolves sitting comfortable at the moment. 2,000 gold in the lead.
You can see that priority was once again on the top side of the map, but as they do have very good deep vision onto where Yele is at the moment, Chippy's just able to recall. Wave is neutral, so not going to lose out on all that much, and goes towards his regular build of what I expect to be Tiamat into Trinity Force. Camille definitely on track right now with a kill as well as equal CS. And across the board, we said that there were some good pushing lanes, and maybe counter picks here, but Direwolves are just flexing their muscle. Not only have they won the only skirmish of the game, every single position at the moment has a CS advantage.
I'm really curious to see how much of the gold lead these positions actually have, especially with 2 kills on Destiny. So that's being pulled up now. It's about 300 in favor of Chippies. So that's the single kill. 300 in the jungle, about 400 in the mid lane, and about 400 bottom lane. So spread out quite evenly across the map for the walls, but that's still a component each as King whiffs an ultimate.
Apart from Destiny, who has 1,000 gold up, which leads him to be able to upgrade his gold generation item as well as the boot.
Fade actually dodging every single skill shot in the book at the moment. Returns fire onto Shernfire. Dark Passage gets it back to safety. King standing his ground, but Yele's in amongst it as well. Kicks back, knocked back, executed by the Lee Sin. That's a great play from Regicide.
Certainly is, and that's just Fade stepping up. Johnson, of course, was the mid laner. Changed his name to Fade when he became the jungler. Now showing that he can play AD carry as well. Some nice happy feet and a beautiful turnaround arrow meant that Yele only had to come in and clean up a King that had no summoner spells available. And that puts Regicide back within 1,600 gold. And certainly not down and out yet.
Certainly not, and definitely fitting with their name here as their first kill of the game is against King himself.
Oh, come on. I wish I could tell people what happened behind the scenes to make that happen. Because Fish has the definition of Regicide up on his phone right now.
Look, I just wanted to make sure. Didn't want to say something stupid, because I do that quite often.
Makes sense. Camille at the moment, teleport coming out, ultimate use, but no flash available.
Turning around, that's Human jumping in straight away. Chippies will fall eventually, but Fantix has joined the fight top side of the map, and there's no way you can duel this Cassid at the moment. Human trying to get towards the back of his turret. Fantix doesn't want to take this fight.
Yeah, exactly right. All of a sudden, Fantix has to turn back around. We talk about it a lot, but as a Cassidon, you're waiting on that 3 items before you have real impact. Was able to get there. Blade of the Ruined King has been picked up right now by King. Should help his laning phase out pretty significantly.
And he is a Ruined King at the moment. No 1-3.
Oh, come on. It's not that bad, Fish. He's 15 CS up. Give him a break. K-pop and Fade, once again, looking to be dove. Teleport is available for both top laners, so I think this is a risky play at the best.
Fade will spot them out with the Hawk shot. 3 members of the Direwolves are on the bottom side of the map. There is still a teleport available for both teams, with Chippies and ZZZ holding on to theirs. Pink Ward's going to be swept out here by K-pop and Fade, even getting the final ward just behind the Tri-Brush. So controlling vision quite well on the bottom lane.
This is actually really nice communication coming out from the Regicide lineup. You can see that they sent ZZZ towards mid lane as Fantix had stuck top a little bit longer. He caught that minion wave. Now we'll be able to rotate up to the top lane as Suman goes back and looks to complete Greaves. See whether he has enough for another dagger. Actually is not. So just that boost too. Actually, it was a whole recurve, but I lied.
Still, this performance from Regicide is very impressive. It's not their full lineup. They're against one of the best teams in the OPL.
The best team in the OPL. Let's call a spade a spade. They took down the Chiefs. They finished first last time. haven't had a chance to play Legacy or Sin yet, but you have to think that they would be the favorite going into any of those matchups right now, Direwolves.
And so they've fallen behind all the lanes, but I'll get into that later because ZZ's in a little bit of a sticky situation as Chippy's chasing down with Sherfire. Throws down the ultimate. Fantix is here as well. Good damage, and Fantix will pick up that kill. Fade now. Big jumped on. The flash gets connected by Chippies, but a good kickback gets him to safety. Yele in trouble, will fall. Chippies picks up that kill. And now Suman has found himself caught in the crossfire. Wants to turn around some damage towards Cassidy. Can't pick them up.
The rotations already began.
K-Pop, he's going to get caught out inside the red buff from Zone Jungle. Gets a good heal, but locked down by King. Suman again trying to defend his support, but he just can't. And right as I compliment Regicide, everything just falls apart.
Yeah, that was a little bit sloppy out of Regicide. ZZZ overextends, has to burn flash. You could see that Yele was very slow to rotate. I actually thought he was going to be able to beat Fantix in there. Did not happen. And then, unfortunately, now Suman is going to just be looked to be dove over and over again as the map is collapsing around him. ZZZ even teleported back top lane Fish, which means that the play for bottom is definitely on the card.
Yep.
And mid lane turret being breached first is never a good sign when you have a counter pick.
Brings a 4,500 gold lead for the Direwolves. Chippy's relentless and being aggressive against ZZZ on the top side of the map.
I think what happened is ZZZ was like, this lane's going okay, I can build Leandries first. Didn't go back and grab himself Tabbies. And since that thought process went through, has certainly regretted it.
What I was trying to say is, until that last skirmish across the map, Regicide were looking good in this game. Proactive plays, they were confident even when they executed and it didn't go well. They were all on the same page when they did so. Good reactions to some of the Direwolves plays. That was the first actual fight where we haven't seen any reactive play from Regicide, where they just kind of fell apart one by one.
Yeah.
Direwolves really cementing why they are the best team in the OPL at the moment. But it's, I mean, Hingers was asking this on the desk. What would be good for Regicide? Of course, a win would be fantastic, picking up a single game against the Wolves, but even this performance so far, it's decent from Regicide.
I mean, it's been fine. I don't think that Direwolves really had any lanes to be able to go with, and you can see they're certainly still confident. As Fantix has gone back and just bought himself a Magi's, if you don't mind, Fish.
That's a confident play.
I don't think Direwolves feel pushed at all in this stage. And I would say that's what would be a win for Regicide. If they felt like they had gone out there and really shoved Direwolves around a little bit, you know, their counter picks were actually working out, they were executing on their draft. And unfortunately, whilst it's been relatively even, when you're going up against Camille Casson, I just don't think even in the early game is enough to be able to realistically challenge for a win.
It's not even Darkness currently are ahead. 4,500 gold. They're looking to try and take their second mountain down Dragon, while Chippy's already trying to execute some of the split pushing for the Wolves. He's on the top side of the map, taking down top lane Outer. ZZZ has grouped up with Regicide. Seems like they want to try and fight for something on the map, but Chippy's has teleport. The longer they delay this, the worse it's going to be. Mountain Dragon has been started again by the Wolves.
I mean, you just have to go for a steal here. Hope that you get some damage on Churn, force him back, and Yele can swoop in for it.
Ooh, Yele looking to try and jump in, tags it early. They let it reset slightly, but doesn't go in for the steal. Direwolves, clean execution, taking down that Mountain Dragon.
And you touched on it. I mean, it was the fact that ZZZ had used teleport to get back top. Chippies was putting extreme pressure on the opposite side of the map. Now, all of the members are heading down into bottom lane. You can see that there is no response really forthcoming out of Regicide. And they're just losing advantages around the map right now that they should not be losing, although that's a nice arrow.
Yeah, that's connecting on towards Destiny. Yele looking to go back in. Depth Centers gets dodged by the Lee Sin. So they might have been looking for Sherfire, I believe, there. He was quite low on health as well.
Yeah, I think that if they actually had have just gone on to Destiny there, however, whilst he was stunned, they could have made the ward hop play to Shern. Of course, doesn't have flash available, and that should have been time. Yeah, they potentially could have been able to grab himself and execute, but definitely not to be fifth.
First sign to pick up by Fade is going to be that Hurricane's looking for a little bit of extra damage and wave clear. King's going to try and do his best to poke away at this bottom lane outer turret. Yele is down here again. Hook goes wide from Destiny.
And this is going to be the turret going down. You can see both Shern and Fantix are really cheating towards this side of the map.
King cutting corners there. Has to get a Dark Passage to get back to safety.
And with that, maybe they've done enough to really delay this turret take. You can see that they've shoved up this wave, although now the ultimate.
Yeah, that's a flash in for Destiny as well. Fade is getting deleted from Summoner's Rift. They're trying to keep him alive as long as possible. Shenfire is low after taking him down, but Fantix has joined this fight. He just has to back off. Yele's in trouble. K-Pop's the next target, and the Wolfpack group up in the bottom lane to pick up 3 kills.
Yeah, exactly right. They have the double teleport. We said that Regicide shouldn't be looking to fight. They got over-aggressive because King looked like he was and there was really nothing he could do, but ultimate lands onto multiple members. They turn around with the double teleport, pick up 3 kills, and now another turret for themselves. Last outer of the game. And it looks like they're going to be about 9,000 gold up at 22 minutes. And this has turned into a pretty one-sided affair.
And I think we said this in Split 1. A 28-minute game is fantastic. That is almost a stomp coming out from his side. And Direwolf's on track for that. He was that last team fight for them. No, it's not. This is Human recalling in the bush with ZZZ and Cassidy.
Cassidy double buff sitting in the top lane. Don't
Big
be
replay.
By the replay in the top left corner. This is definitely live footage, although that's not. That's a replay again. So they're able to pick up 3 members.
We're back!
Fantix is recalling still. Magi's pickup has certainly been worthwhile.
TLDW, Regicide died bottom lane and they took a turret. There was nothing they could do. It was actually pretty brutal. I think we'd have to change the rating of the show if we showed that replay any different.
But at the same time, you can see that items are being picked up slowly by the Regicide lineup, going towards Infinity Edge for Fade. Next, certainly the highest damage build, the lowest utility out of Ash right now, I think it's fair to say. At the same time, you can see it's going to be a more actually picked up by Suman, so low crit build. Honestly, he's next to useless at the moment. Lucian mid lane that is being sent behind isn't great. Let's take another look at this replay one more time. So you can see that it was actually the engage that came out of King. Shern went deep, was able to get healed up by both King as well as the Nidalee heal. Then you can see that not really all that many areas where you can go as the whole team was collapsing. Chippies didn't even get an assist. It was not needed. But Direwolves in firm control of this game.
They're about 8,500 gold ahead of Regicide. Sweeping out the Baron pit as well. Shenfire will spot out a couple of wards placed down by Regicide members.
It was Deficio talking about this on the EU LCS last night. As maybe they've brought out Yele in the jungle. So hold that thought. No, definitely isn't. That ward on the top side of Baron has existed as a competitive ward for, I'm going to say, a solid 4 years now. And people, for some reason, still just don't sweep top side Baron. So they know exactly when they're going to go for it because it spots you walking into the pit. Doesn't show health going down, of course, but that's going to be control warded.
There's still one ward that wasn't swept out that was actually made popular by the Vietnamese team, which is just on the side of the pit.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yep, that one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Good.
I thought you one that was already swept out.
No.
Regicide actually trying to engage off the back of that turret falling. Outrigger is wide. Yeah, good ward placement from Regicide gives them some breathing room here. They do lose a turret, but when you're almost 9,000 gold down, losing any objective is just going to hurt you detrimentally.
And I mean, this is close to a perfect game. We were saying that they were doing fine early game, but 2 kills is really all that's gone across the Regicide, and it doesn't look like they're in the business of being able to pick up any of these turrets. I mean, potentially top lane if they're able to pick up a kill or 2 around a Baron objective, but really, this has been pretty comprehensive from the Direwolf squad. And they were talking about it a lot on the desk. We had been critical of Direwolf, said that they were only a laning phase team. Well, this is a game where their lanes were fine, but not fantastic. And then it was all about their teleport usage, being able to get 5 members around a skirmish. And actually, Chippy's just diving mid lane.
Fade stuck inside the ultimate coming out from Chippy's. K-Pop has to flash away from that as well. Right now, if you're Regicide, normally I would say if you're any other team, you think, all right, let's think about next game. This game is probably going to be over in the next 5 minutes. But if you're Regicide, you go, let's hold this one out for Chenny Boy. We need Chenny Boy back, boys.
I mean, Fade hasn't been the problem in the AD carry position. They get the ward this time around. You can see that where it was on the top side. They do go for it. They're still against the Rumble. There could be some good damage that comes out. Yele gets hooked.
Destiny over the wall with Chippy's trying to lock down the jungler straight away. Yele almost taken down. Good equalizer. Chippy's in some trouble here. He will fall first. Baron is incredibly low, but Shenfire is there with Smite. Going over the wall. Yele almost gets it. Shenfire tags that one up. He will get back over the wall and back to safety. K-Pop taken down by King on the backside. King Lee looking for revenge, exhausted by Suman. Good Dark Patch just gets to the safety, but Churnfire is stuck. Flash from Suman, and
Arrow
the
killed
arrow
him.
from
No, it
downtown
didn't.
doesn't get the kill, but it looked like it was going to. Direwolves still clean up that team fight. It's a 2-for-4 trade.
41 HP is what that Baron lived on when Yele dove into the pit for the smite. 41 HP. That is the difference between this game extending for another 5 minutes and what was, in the end, a pretty clean team fight coming out of Direwolves in a 12,000 gold lead. Skin of their teeth. That was a 50-50 play because too many members went over the Wallfish and only left the Nidalee and the Varus to be able to continue damage. I think that should have just been Chippies locking down members inside the prison and not letting anyone else go across.
If the Goldie was any closer, that play from the Direwolves would have been a disaster. We've seen a couple of big Baron throws already.
But it does lead to a gold lead that's just,
Yes.
I mean,
13,000.
nigh insurmountable now. Every members is sitting on like a completed item more than their counterparts. And it's manifesting itself in a pretty obnoxious way. You can see that is a fully stacked Magi's Cassidy that is 7014.
It's level 17 as well.
Yeah.
He's one item away from complete.
And this is why I don't agree with really going with the Lucian counterpick. Because during lane, is it okay? Sure, but Shield and Tabby make it a lot better for the Cassidy. And eventually, Cassidy just takes over game.
This is why he's becoming so popular internationally to the point where he's being banned out in the first ban rotation on blue side.
I mean, I think there are even better like lane picks that you can go. Like I like Cassiopeia into Cassidy.
Yep.
The Shern gets tagged up quite heavily.
Oh,
Whoa!
welcome to the dungeon, Yele, as the Direwolves have trapped you with that kick. His mind was telling him no. His mind was telling him no. His body told him yes, and wrong choice there. Suman actually just dies fancies on the backside. There goes Fate. Just deleted from Summoner's Rift. That's a double. He still wants more, though. It will be ZCZ that falls. Triple kill picked up by Cassidy. And after an impressive early start, it was just a clinical game for the Direwolves.
Yeah, it certainly was. I mean, they didn't have winning lanes, but they're able to still pick it up in 29 minutes game time. Direwolves just look on fire at the
They
moment.
certainly do. Best team in the OPL at the moment, defending champions and cementing the first game victory here against Regicide. Now, the real question is, was that enough time for Chenny to get back into this game?
You see on your screen, Captain of Direwolves, best top laner, maybe the best mid laner as well at the moment, Fair Ticks. Not many smiles. I mean, this is business as usual. They know they had to come in today. Regicide isn't touted as going to be challenging for the top, although they're an exciting lineup to watch.
They are.
And if Direwolves want to go back-to-back, they need to be able to beat teams like Regicide in that fashion.
We just see the side of Regicide. Couple of smiles here, still very talkative, still talking to each other. It's good to see. Excited to see what they're going to be able to pull out in Game 2. Excited to see if the roster's going to change at all. But in all honesty, Fade as an 80 carry. Yele was quite impressive in the jungle as well. Regicide still look completely fine. In fact, a lot better from week 1 even.
Yeah, I actually don't think there was a personnel issue there. Obviously, you want to be able to play with your starting roster because that's what you're hoping gets better.
Yep.
But this was just Direwolves collapsing well around the map, knowing when they were strong and being able to take advantage of it. It looked like the classier team was just able to build up leads, and that's what you expect when you see what was the defending champions going up against the newly promoted team. You look at this footage, and that's just good examples of how you use double teleport and how backline divers are able to get access on the current patch where tanks really don't exist that much.
Pretty much. Direwolves were very clinical in the execution of that game and took it out quite nicely against Regicide. It was about 28 minutes into the match when they finally picked up the victory, but that was just game 1 of the first best of 3 series today. And to break down that game a little bit further, let's send it back to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Fish and Spawn. Well, if you have questions from yourselves at home, hashtag #IamOPL, and I will pose them, if they're relevant enough to the game, to our analysts Jish and T-Gun. So tell us your initial thoughts on this game. In particular, I mean, it's very clinical from the Direwolves, Jish.
I mean, it wasn't like 20 minutes. Me and
Yeah.
T-Gun were walking upstairs being like, is it going to be like 22 minutes, 18 minutes? I think it was like 29, maybe nearly 30. So they held out pretty well. I think Direwolves played like, I think Direwolves played the scaling comp sort of thing. So I think that they were just like a bit slow to start and then close sort of in a consummate performance.
Yeah, I think just pretty much covered it. There wasn't really much for the Direwolves to do in the early parts of the game. They didn't really have a comp that made plays. They didn't have a comp that was going to blow someone up at level 6. And we saw Schönfire try to make those plays with the flash over into the top lane and just sort of fancy things, even trying to fight Lee Sin at level 3 near Dragon when he was lower on all the resources. But that wasn't what we were expecting when the drafts came through. We were expecting Direwolves to just sit back, get into a nice, comfortable 1-3-1 and throw the game away, and that's what they did.
All right, well, let's take a look at our first replay, Jish. About 10 minutes into the game, it's a bot lane play, and Darwolves pick up 3 kills, and Regicide use a lot of their ultis.
Yeah, so Regicide throw out their 3 big team fight ults like almost close to immediately. They use the Ashe ult, the Rumble ult, and then have to use the Lee Sin ult to get Camille out. And sort of once they use these big resources, it's Direwolf's turn just to turn it back here. So Destiny will flash in. He gets actually a really nice hook and gets 2-man play. And it's like Fantix has moved down from the mid lane and Searman's still there farming. And so it's like there's really no resources left for Regicide to make any moves there. And it's Direwolf's fight to take there.
Yeah. I mean, the one redeeming factor I would say is the Ashe ult pretty much snuck past and hit the Varus right in the head. So as far as like what they were trying to do, they executed it pretty darn well. It just wasn't the right thing to do at the right time.
Yeah, you were saying backstage, look, this is about as good an engage as you're going to get out of that Regicide team comp.
It wasn't the right time. They didn't really track the enemies. They didn't track Fantix moving down. Like you said, Suman's just sitting mid farming minions. So it's, I would assume, a communication issue between the team to try and work out where the other people are when they're trying to make the plays.
Meanwhile, T-Gun, about 25 minutes into the game, we see Direwolves try and take a 50-50 Baron, and it wasn't as clean as they would have liked. So let's take a look at that, and you can talk us through it.
Yeah, first of all, I'm not even sure this Baron's necessary given their comp, but they do commit to it. What I want to see is them to commit to either returning like they've tried here or finishing the Baron. Instead, you see 2 chunks of Direwolves. Half of them are over fighting Regicide, half of them are finishing the Baron. Be decisive, because what happens here is the Baron goes down to 31 health. That's an auto attack from literally anyone in the game to kill the Baron. Dire will still secure it, but that's a way you can throw away a game.
It's a risk.
We saw this last week in a series between, I believe it was Avant and TM Gaming, where one team was really, really far ahead, and the other team just stole a Baron that they just didn't need to take.
You're not naming
if I recall
teams.
correctly. If I recall correctly, all right? I'm a little old. My memory's a little hazy. But things like that, they're not necessary. Direwolves don't need Baron to end this game. They can just sit in a 1-3-1 forever, and there's nothing that Regicide can do to answer it.
Yeah, to their credit, I don't think they actually started that Baron with the intention of finishing it. You can see that they're like sort of posturing in like the lower part of the pit because they wanted to turn. And then it just comes down to the turn call. They had 2 people who get across the wall really cleanly, a Thresh Hook and then Kassadin ult. And then you just need to be like, hey, King, stop hitting Baron. Like, why aren't you trying to kill the team? Because if they ace them off that, they either take Baron or they just go and end the game.
Yeah, and you were saying, when they started, you even said they're just going to turn with a King Flash ult. And I said that's like exactly what they need to do. But instead, they just chunk themselves and give themselves a chance to lose, essentially, when before then, there was no way they lost.
I'm just getting in my comms now that Chenny Boy is actually back. He's made it back from his
He's in the building.
So Chenny Boy has arrived, and he's going to be taking on Direwolves in this second game. But I want to ask about what you thought of Yele, because this is OPL debut for the young man, and it was a fine performance, yeah?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I'm not even sure moving Chenny back in is the right move. Not a knock on Chenny before people get angry at me, all right? Not a knock on Chenny.
But you're saying he's warmed up, he's played a game, he's feeling good.
He looked really good.
Yeah.
Like I said, he was fighting Shern early on. He was tracking him well. He was keeping up in CS. Fade looked pretty comfortable on ADC. It wasn't exactly like individual mistakes. It was just overall team decisions, team mistakes that cost them the game. So it might help, it might not help, but I don't think it's going to be the linchpin that changes it.
Do we sub in Chenny Boy 80 carry, keep Yele jungle, and just say, see you later, Fade? No, I don't think so.
No.
I think, sort of returning back to my initial point on the opening segment, we just said that, like, this is not a week that Regicide are here to win. Like, let's just give them a bit of time, like some more stage time, you know, a bit of chance for cohesion, learning, like improving. And I think that you do need, obviously, your main roster and someone who is probably like the louder voice on the team, the shot caller, and someone who helps translate between the players.
Yeah, if they plan to keep, the Chenny Boy roster as their solid roster, then they're absolutely right to do it. But my question is that the right call for them at this point?
Well, I mean, presumably they played with this, like,
The
plan.
sub-roster.
Yeah, no, as in they said, look, well, yeah, it's not like this exam was sprung on him last minute. Presumably, these times,
You never know.
I don't know.
You
I do
never
not
know.
know. But you think that these, like, they had a plan to, like, do this, and they've prepared it, and they've thought about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, and they always knew, look, coming back, this is what we're going to prepare for if Chenny Boy makes it back, which he has. So he's going to be starting in that AD role for this second game. Now, before we move on, though, and I do want to talk about this draft, even if we can't get it up on screen, because I do want to ask about Chippy still playing Camille, and it seems like he's the only pro in OSU who's still doing it. What are the strengths of this, and given how many nerfs Camille has taken, I mean, is it still viable internationally?
I don't think it's obviously a staple pick, and as you just said, he's the only one playing at the moment. I think that Chippies has probably 1, maybe 2 sort of matchups he wants to pick it into, and clearly Rumble's one of those. it does offer like the Chippy special of you're going to be in the side lane split pushing and trying to 1v1 and outplay your opponent. And it's obviously something that Chippies is always like touted for being really good at. So I think that it suits his team to get them into like that 1-3-1 sort of style. And yeah, I mean, as it is an internationally viable pick, maybe not.
Right.
Maybe next patch, I think when they're buffing it a little bit, maybe we'll see more. And then obviously that'll help him. But yeah.
I think they were obviously just looking for any splitter with their bans. They were banning things like Cannon and Jace, so they were looking for this pick. But my question is, why not Fiora? So maybe they were looking for more mobility, which Camille sort of brought. Maybe they're looking for more engage, which Camille sort of brought instead of the pressure and the split push.
It's looking for knife legs. That's what we're after.
I would say it's more a question for Sharp than us, because there's
Yeah.
obviously a method
Well, it's a
behind
thing
their
he's
draft.
preparing, he
Um,
presumably.
To get into his head a little bit,
Yeah.
I think that the big difference between the two is that the Camille has a really good flank threat. And so if you're playing that 1-3-1, obviously the Ashe is going to want to run up mid lane and just throw an arrow to try and engage in the 5v5 style, and then Camille can flank that really well with a
yeah,
TP.
you can double TP, and
Yeah.
I feel like she's more impactful than a Fiora. if
Fiora's
there's
not
double
going to TP flank, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So maybe that was just the whole ethos behind it, was we do want a 1-3-1, but at the same time, if you fight, we don't really care. We'll just do it as well.
I mean, I didn't have the guts to say it on camera when I was talking to him. Like Vicarious was saying, look, we've got this double AD because we think it's going to scale well. We have the better scale. But yeah, do you agree with that? I mean, speaking of the 1-3-1, right? Yeah, if you've got Camille, if you've got these split pushing threats and your dire wolves, is that a better scaling?
You were willing to say that Vicarious was straight out wrong?
I wasn't. I'm asking.
I will. Yeah, sorry, I will. I think
I'm a coward. I don't know.
no, I think you have like in maybe a front to back 5v5, the Regicide team fight will out damage them over the course of like a long fight.
Sure.
I think if
That's
Dire
what double AD does. Yeah.
well,
yeah.
if Direwolves ever put themselves in that situation, they're playing the game wrong. Obviously, they
Right.
picked Cassidon and they picked Camille, and post maybe level 11, there's like no one on the Regicide lineup who's going to be able to answer them in one side lane, let alone two. So I really just think that they were always going to have 3 waves of pressure, and they were just going to use like their macro and to move between lanes and rotate between objectives, and just avoid those like double 80 carry fights.
Oh, Tigo, no, you.
No, that's pretty much it. It's spot on.
Well, then, do you want to see any different picks out of Regicide for? I mean, they're going to obviously be reversing on their side, so you know maybe.
Assassin's mid. Go back to
Assassin's
it.
mid.
Go back to Assassin's mid.
Do you want to
'cause
see Suman on an Ari maybe?
I'd love it. I'd love it, because you're not going to win this game through standard play. I'm sorry, that's just the fact of the matter.
Wow, this is damage done to champs, and looks like Caston, like you said, was doing a lot of damage there.
Yeah, not actually that one-sided, really, considering how big the game was. I think the one thing to note is that all of Direwolves are going to be doing damage later into the game. Obviously, their solo laners particularly, and yet they're still putting up bigger numbers. I think, obviously, just in changes for Regicide, I really liked when ZZZ was playing Jarvan, and obviously he had a hugely impactful performance in Game 2 against in his last week. I think giving him more of like an engaged team fighting sort of champion, you know, maybe that's the option.
Speaking of Fantasy doing a lot of damage on Caston, we did see him pick up that Soul Stealer as well, which is a bit of a that's like a kill streak item, right?
Yeah,
That's a
like,
disrespect item.
that's like
Is
the
it? You
I'm
think
winning
it's a
this game
disrespect
item.
But it's like if you're winning and you know you're gonna you're playing with confidence. It's not. Is it disrespectful?
That's an item that I would pick up if I was playing normals against really bad players. That's how I feel about that item.
Well,
yes, you
but
could.
that's you though, and you're a toxic and
Whoa.
awful man. No,
Whoa.
but
That's
no, but
hurtful.
it's if you are already ahead, is it a viable item choice if you're already on a bit of a streak?
Generally, the gold, like the amount of gold you have to put into it to upgrade it, and then if you ever die, it makes it like inefficient to buy. Obviously, he ended the game 10-0, so it was very efficient for him. It's just it's not safe.
Right.
He would never do that in like a grand final game against
Sure.
like an equally skilled opponent. I would
Right.
say against Regicide, he has a lot more freedom to do such things.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about why are you building items that just simply get you more ahead? Because you're already well ahead at that point. Yes, it just does stack, and if you don't make mistakes, awesome. But if you just kept finishing your build as per normal, there's no real downside to it besides you're down maybe 40 to 50 AP from having 20 stacks.
I'm just guessing he based on the right amount of gold, really. I'm
That's-
like,
that's-
oh yeah, I
that's
can buy
mostly
this
possible.
item. Yeah, whatever.
That's
If
pretty
anyone's got any
possible.
corrections, tweet them at Coach Jish, and continue to tweet your questions at us. # I'm a PL.
Only a Jish.
Yeah.
No one else.
Answer your questions if they're relevant to the next game. But I want to close this out by saying, Direwolves, do you see anything they need to improve on going into Game 2? Because it was quite clean from them, but maybe the Baron Call, maybe the Shenfai Flash. Anything else?
Yeah, say no to coin flip Barons.
Yeah. It's a
No, I think that's sort of it
PSA
for me.
for,
Yeah, I
for
just
us
think
pros.
I
For
think that
everyone.
you don't want to put the game on such an even playing field. I think that they just need to say, hey guys, like we're looking to turn on this Baron and then turn on the Baron.
But if Regicide take that Baron, that doesn't win them the game.
No,
right?
but it
just-
makes the
stalls
game
it out for another 10 minutes
sloppy
or
and
something.
unnecessary.
There's no need for it.
Yeah.
I would say think about your overall game plan, because there were points in the early game where they just ended up in really weird lane assignments. They stayed in normal lanes when they could have went to a 1-3-1. They could have rotated their bot somewhere and then back down to bot lane to execute the dives better. So it felt like instead of really thinking about where they were going and what they were doing, they were just going through the motions at some stage, which can work, but against better teams, that's things that are going to cost them.
We have a tweet up on the screen right now from Adam. What could Regicide have done to turn it around? I mean, there wasn't a lot. Maybe take that Baron, first of all.
Get the Baron.
Yeah.
Other than that, be a better team coming in. That sounds really harsh, but that's what I would say if we went against Direwolves and had the same sort of game. We just needed to be better going into the game.
Hey guys, to win this game, just play better. Nice advice.
Just be better.
No, I think
good analysis.
I think that this is one of those upset games where if you put them in 10 matches, maybe Regicide take one, and you need to sort of pray that you get that one match. I think if they just play aggressive early, things like the Lee Sin's going to be really good for them. Maybe they hope to get a Lease. Any early pressure jungler, maybe some things that they can just look to set up ganks for in lanes like the Jarvan or I don't know, maybe the Assassin's mid. Maybe we can snowball off that. They just need, I think, to get a little bit lucky early game and snowball off that.
All right. Well, we're about to get into our second game of Regicide taking on last split's champion Direwolves. We're throwing it to your casters, Spawn and Fish. But before we do that, let's look at some highlights from game number 1.
That's an engage from Regicide as well as a teleport coming down. They lock down King, but he flashes away. K-Pop's now the one that's in trouble. First blood's picked up by Destiny. Equalizer is inside the wall, not too great. Chippy's kicked out of his own ultimate, but going back in with the hook shot, stuns up Ash, flash over the wall. Destiny gets the hook, predicts the flash, and one by one, Regicide will fall. Fade actually dodging every single skill shot in the book at the moment. Returns fire on the Sherdfire. Dark Passage gets it back to safety. King standing his ground, but Yele's in amongst it as well. Kicks back, knocked back, executed by the Lee Sin.
Makes sense. Camille at the moment, teleport coming out, ultimate use, but no flash available.
Turning around, that's Human jumping in straight away. Chippies will fall eventually, but Fantix is joined the fight top side of the map, and there's no way you can draw this Cassidy at the moment. Human trying to get towards the back of this throw. Fantix doesn't want to take this fight.
Although now the ultimate.
Yeah, that's a flash into Destiny as well. Fade is getting deleted from Summoner's Rift and trying to keep him alive as long as possible. Shernfire is low after taking him down, but Fantix has joined this fight. He just has to back off. Yele's in trouble. K-Pop's the next target, and the Wolfpack group up in the bottom lane to pick up 3 kills. Destiny over the wall with Chippy's trying to lock down the jungler straight away. Yele almost taken down. Good equalizer. Chippy's in some trouble here. He will fall first. Baron is incredibly low, but Shernfire is there with Smite. Going over the wall. Yele almost gets it. Shernfire tags that one up. He will get back over the wall and back to safety. K-Pop taken down by King on the backside. King looking for revenge. Exhausted by Suman. Good Dark Patches gets to the safety, but Shernfire is stuck. Flash from Suman. And the arrow from downtown doesn't get the kill, but it looked like it was going to. Oh, welcome to the dungeon, Yele, as the Direwolves have trapped you with that kick. His mind was telling him no. His mind was telling him no. His body told him yes, and wrong choice there. Suman actually just dies Fantasy on the backside. There goes Fate, just deleted from Summoner's Rift. That's a double. He still wants more, though. It will be CCD that falls. Triple kill picked up by Cassidy. Best team in the OP at the moment, defending champions and cementing the first game victory here against Regicide.